Welcome to the Say Hello to Your Therapist podcast. I'm Dr. Bethany Valenti. Join me as we say hello to Steffeny Feld, a social worker and therapist who has basically turned her practice to exclusively providing what are called therapy intensives. She also spends much of her time teaching other therapists how to be able to provide that in their private practice. So who better to actually sit down and talk to about what therapy intensives are, because as you will hear me say, I hadn't heard of them before until I actually started my own private practice. So please join me and Steffeny Feld as we discuss what therapy intensives are, what they look like, who they might be a good fit for, all that good stuff. I'm really excited for this conversation. She's a joy. I love her energy. Just a quick reminder that the opinions that we express in this episode are our own and are not a substitute for any advice that you would receive from a mental health or medical professional with whom you have a relationship. And don't forget to check out the show notes to check out some of the names and references of what we talked about and where to find out more about Steffeny. And if you go check out our Instagram page, which will also be linked in the show notes, in the post for today's episode on Instagram, there's an image that illustrates the different types of intensives. And if you're a therapist who's listening and is interested in learning more about Steffeny's work, about intensives, anything like that in your own practice, Steffeny gave me a link to a quiz on what would be the best fit type of intensive that you could provide in your practice. Thank you so much to Steffeny for that, and please enjoy. Welcome, Steffeny.
Thank you.
I'm so excited you're here. I would love to start with our opening question, which is, how did you find your way to be a therapist? And then because of our topic today, I would love for you to share, because I know you have what you used to do and what you do now is like your main focus of therapy. So if you could do like a part 1 and then part 2.
Yeah. Okay, fun. So I don't always get to answer the how did I become a therapist question.
Everyone's asking all the technical questions. We'll get to those.
Yeah. But I feel like it's a fun story because there's some people who are therapists and they're like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I knew
Yeah.
it from a really young age, blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't me at all. My undergrad is actually in anthropology. I know. And I studied like international relief and development. So I like lived abroad. And really I never thought that I would that my life would look the way that it does
It
now.
does now. Yeah.
Like I was on board for Peace Corps and working in.
I'm going to say, did you even think you were going to be living in the US?
No, not at all. Not at all, to be honest. And then I had like a practicum experience and I realized like, oh, this is really, really powerful. But a lot of it was very like program focused.
Oh.
And I didn't get as much, like, I really just wanted to talk to people. So at that point, I was kind of like, maybe I should reconsider this. And I had a friend who was like, oh, have you ever considered social work? And I was like, no, that is when you take people's kids away. I don't want to do that.
Got to go into people's homes and take their kids away. Yeah.
That was my only understanding of social work up to that point. And I
we
was like,
need that, right? Like
college.
that's important, but that's a hard job. And
exactly. And then she's like, no, actually, social workers do a lot more than that. They can be therapists. They can administer programs like in public health.
It's an incredibly broad field, right?
It really is.
Just go like teach, you know?
Yes. And so because I kind of wanted like my foot still in like international social justice issues, and I was interested in like more personal, I guess you'd say like micro stuff. That's how I ended up in social work. And then I just really loved it. Like I loved therapy. I liked being with people, especially, in trauma. So that's just kind of the path where it led me. I worked in a lot of community programs earlier in my career, like with unhoused families and transitioning youth. And then once I became a mom and the pandemic was happening, that's when I made the shift to private practice because I was like, okay, I have this little, like, immunocompromised baby.
Really? I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, we were in the NICU at the start of COVID for 2 months. Um,
Oh, yeah, that's a
so
time to be in the NICU. Poor baby.
yes, yes.
Oh,
And so I was like, "All right, this is I never imagined myself being in private practice,
mhm,
but it's what I needed to be able to be present for my family the way that
mhm.
I wanted to be." So that was kind of
Yep,
my journey.
needed a little more balance, so
Yeah,
sounded
yeah.
like. Total side note, remind me when your son was born, like
2020, yep.
2020? Okay.
March,
Oh,
yeah.
March. It's just like you were really in the thick of it then.
Oh, yeah, like, one day we were not wearing masks, and the next day it was, like, shut down.
And you're in, if I remember right, you're in St. Louis, right? So it's like a
Mhm.
big area. In a hospital would have likely most places, but like really shut down.
Yeah, it was. There were curfews, and you weren't people were getting pulled over and all kinds of stuff. And I'm
Ooh.
thinking, "I just wanna get to the hospital to be with my baby."
Baby,
So
excuse
it was
me.
a very
Yeah.
a wild
Yeah.
wild time to be a
Wild
mom and to be a
time.
therapist.
And here we are 5 years later, you and your little family, private practice. So how did you, because you started out doing more traditional
Mhm.
therapy when you were doing it. Private practice, is it all virtual when you were doing it?
It was,
Especially because of COVID?
well, yeah, in the beginning, it was definitely all virtual, and then I had an office where I would see people in person as well, so it was kind of like a hybrid situation because some people really prefer in person and some people
Mhm.
prefer virtual. I was pretty flexible at that time,
Right.
and most of my clients, we met weekly or every other week. It was kind of what people think about when they think about therapy, like
Mhm.
coming in for an hour once a week, working with the same therapist over a long period of time, maybe
Longer
months or
period of time.
years.
And were you always doing EMDR?
Yeah, in my private practice, that's what I focused on primarily, but prior
Okay.
to that, I had done all kinds of things. I'd done play therapy,
Mm.
trauma-focused CBT, a lot of, like, mindfulness type stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kinda interesting how where you like, where therapists find themselves. Once I hit
Mhm.
EMDR, I had done that as a client myself,
Oh, okay.
and it had just really, really helped me so much that I
Mhm.
just loved it, and that's all I really wanted to do with
Yeah.
people. Even before I knew what
Yeah.
it was, I kind of was like had this feeling like, "I think I need to know that. I think that's gonna be important for me."
Right.
Like you get a
Yeah,
gut
yeah,
feeling.
same. I was supposed to get trained in it finally in October because that was a priority I was trying to make for this year, at least getting
Yeah.
it. And then my husband had surgery and my son got sick.
Ugh.
So, like, having it all happen at the same time, it just wasn't gonna be feasible. So it's been moved to like the middle of December. So I'm excited to be
Oh,
doing.
that's so good.
We'll get there at some point. But when did your practice shift from more traditional, like trauma therapy, EMDR therapy into what it looks like now?
Yeah. So now what I do is intensive therapy or intensives.
Yeah. Cue
So
like, "What? What is that?"
I know, I know. I am, like, such a huge fan, like, this is once I started doing it and seeing
Mhm.
how amazing it was, I
Yeah.
just, like, literally could not go back to, like,
Mhm.
weekly therapy. So, I'd been seeing
Mm.
people usually, they've had some sort of traumatic or painful experience, and we meet for a week or we meet for an hour and it's like you sort of touch on it. Sometimes you're dancing around it. Sometimes you're
Mhm.
talking about other things that are going on, like your roommate really bugged you or your partner looked at you the wrong way or whatever.
Life comes up, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then time will pass and I'm talking with clients and we're kind of like, "Hey, so remember the reason that you came in the
Started?
first place is for this?" And we'd be like, "Oh gosh, yeah, I don't feel like we've really addressed that." So, I was kind of falling out of love with weekly therapy,
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know if is frustrated the right word or just, like, kind of disillusioned a little, cross
something like
between those 2
that.
where you're
Well,
it's
kind of like a little bit
ineffective?
confused.
Like, confused? Yeah.
Yeah, so I was
Mhm.
like, we're showing up, like,
We're
I'm
doing
doing
the
all the
things.
therapy
Mhm.
things, the client
Mhm.
it's not like they're doing anything wrong, like, we're
Yeah.
both here genuinely trying to do this therapy thing, and it feels
Yeah.
like we weren't getting where we wanted to go.
Mm.
And I think it was around that point that I became aware of people doing EMDR intensives.
Mm.
And just that idea of staying in session, not just like at 1 hour, but staying for like a half day. So like 3 hours or 4 hours. It just
Okay.
makes so much intuitive sense because
Mm.
maybe you've experienced this, but even in my own therapy, like I'm
Mhm.
finally getting to the point where I feel like we're getting to something really good and then the
Mhm.
time's run out.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah, or
like,
like we're just having to catch up, like we spent a lot of the time catching up or
yes,
doing some of the things that
right.
are super important, like relationship building, checking in on different things, or
Yeah.
like trying to be grounded into the space. Then you get grounded and then it's like, well, we'll see how it goes next time.
Yes, yes. And so I was like, well, if that keeps happening over and over, what if we just didn't have to stop? What if we could plan to be there for 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever and not have to, like, start and stop again and again? And
Uh-huh.
so it was just sort of like a crazy idea. But
Yeah.
then I had some clients that I knew really well who I'd worked with for a while, and I was like, "Hey, would you be open to trying this?" And they were like, "Yeah, totally." Because the feeling was mutual, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Like felt like it was helpful, but was it doing what they had set out, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we did it and
And you
but
started out with the half day thing?
yeah, because I
Okay.
was like, "I don't want it to be too much," you know, a whole
Mhm.
day feels like a lot. And we just were able to make so much more progress,
Mm.
and it just made a lot more sense. And since then, I started doing intensives more and more, not just with people I knew, but with people who were new to me, but they'd had, like, a
Mm.
specific type of trauma, just 'cause that's my type of work. But the results were wild. One of the ones that I remember the most fondly is that there was someone who had had a recent trauma. It had really, really impacted them, like,
Mm.
so much, like, can barely, get up to go to work, like waking up in the night, feeling a lot of like self-harm and suicide, like kind of things going on. Well, we met for a 3-day intensive. And at the start, I always do like like those questionnaires and it's rating your trauma symptoms. She scored like off the chart, like top
Mm.
as high as you can, well over the threshold of PTSD, like meeting the
Wow.
criteria. And
Wow,
then
wow, wow.
within 3 days, we went through, EMDR for those
Mhm.
3 days.
Those are 3 half days then?
Mm.
I'm just gonna keep
It was
checking.
like
We'll come to, like,
1 o'clock,
the structures of
4 o'clock.
intensives in a second. I just know they
Yeah,
can.
but I knew because she was like it was very clear that she was having a very profound experience processing what had happened. And at the end, we did the screening tool again, and she did not meet criteria for PTSD anymore
After 3 days?
after 3 days. And
What?
she's like a young person. Do you know how many
Yeah.
people experience a trauma and it stays with them till the
Mhm.
day they die, you know?
Mhm.
Or you're in
Mhm.
your 60s, 70s, 80s thinking like, I don't
Mm.
wanna feel this way anymore. So
Yeah.
one, like, shout out to her for being like, "This happened to me and I want help now."
Mhm. Mhm.
But two, like, she got her life back.
Yeah.
And I really
Wow.
believe, like, if we hadn't done it in that condensed
Mhm.
format where you're getting a very high dose of therapy in a short period of time,
Yeah.
that it would have taken a lot longer. Like, she would have
Mhm.
experienced those symptoms for weeks or months longer than she had to be.
Wow.
So for me, intensives are it accelerates the process of
Mhm.
healing
Mhm.
and it reduces or alleviates suffering.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like I'm all about that.
Yeah, once you're in there, you're like, "Why wouldn't I do this then?" Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so many I mean, I think that's why we're talking about this topic today.
Mhm.
I w I was a therapist and I didn't know that was an option,
Literally, I didn't
you
learn
know?
about this until I started to go into private practice, and I saw you do, like, a little talk for other therapists, and people were like, I think coming into it, you did explain what it was in there, but it was like, I was like, I'm sorry, what is this? Like, what? Like,
Yes.
like my mind was so blown. I was so excited. I almost like just restructured my entire practice, but it just wasn't ready. I'm still hoping to do it like in the next year or two. You started doing it, and to the point where, if I remember, you are now fully doing intensives. Like that's if you go to your website, I've been to your
Yeah.
website. You go to your website, I believe it says I only do intensives,
Yeah, because
right?
once I like got to be in that type of experience with
Mhm.
someone, I was just like, I'm
Can I fully do it any other way now?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in all honesty, to be like, I'm not in the business of like checking a appointment off your calendar every week.
Mhm.
If you're,
Mhm.
and it really is like someone has to be at the moment where they feel ready, right? It
Yeah.
has to be the right time. So it may not be right
Mhm.
for everybody, but if someone's like, yeah, I I want to see this change happen and I'm ready right now, then
Mhm.
why microdose your therapy across
Yeah.
like months or years? I've heard
Mhm.
people say it's like if you were going in for surgery.
Mhm.
And have you heard this analogy?
No, I'm excited to
Okay.
hear it though.
It's like if you were going in for surgery and you stopped eating and drinking at this
Yeah.
time, or maybe it's like a colonoscopy and you had to like
Right.
drink a
All that
lot of
prep,
stuff.
yeah.
And then you set the alarm, you get yourself up, you go in the parking garage, blah, blah, blah. You fill the forms, get the IV, the hairnet. And then the doctor comes in and is like, all right, well, we met our time for today. See you next time.
Oh.
You'd be like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
That's how therapy's been structured.
Mhm.
And we don't even question it, like myself
Mhm.
included. I didn't even ask, like, who
Yeah.
came up with the hour for therapy?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and would it actually be in everybody's best interest
Mhm.
around our healing choices, you know?
Right.
Because for
Yeah.
some people, just taking that step to start therapy, to click the
Mhm.
button and put your phone number in there, whatever, is
Mhm.
like really hard. I'm
Yeah.
a therapist and I had anxiety when I was
Yeah.
reaching out to someone new a few years ago.
Mhm.
So you're gonna make someone go through this whole thing and
Yeah.
then reach back out and they get up their nerves to like go to the appointment with
Mhm.
you.
And then it's like,
Like,
all right, we'll keep doing, and to a degree, like I do that and I'm happy doing it. Like I love working with people long term.
yeah.
If in some cases that's a good fit for somebody, they may not want to do this. We'll talk about the financial part of it later, but it's nice to know that there's more options out there for people who may not have the time to do weekly therapy. I would love for, again, like you said, we barely even knew what intensives were. Like I learned about them maybe 2 years ago. You learned about them like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe more, but they've been around and they're really starting to like take off. More and more people I see are offering them. You said just a few minutes ago something that I think very, very simply describes what it is. It was high dose, short
Oh yeah.
therapy window or something. Yeah, you said, and I remember seeing like my brain was like, if I could just write that down right now, I would. And I probably should have. But you said you were talking about that client. You were like, she needed the high dose, short therapy window or something
Yes.
from where she
Yes.
was at. And that's kind of the gist of like put very, very simply, you're doing higher doses of therapy, and that's why it's called intensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How else would you describe it? Because I feel like you can't explain it until you start to be like, well, what are the different types of intensives?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's exactly what it is. It's more therapy in a shorter period of time.
Mhm.
And it can look a lot of different ways, which can be pretty fun, but the idea
Mhm.
is like in the moment that you need it, it's available to you, not
Mhm.
having to like delay that therapeutic experience out week after week after week. You
Yeah.
have the freedom if you want to compress it into a
Mhm.
shorter time
Mhm.
period so that you can see the fruits of your labor more quickly.
Yeah.
I think is why that's so appealing to people. To
Actually in different areas, right? I know one of the things that you like to try and make clear is I really am just doing the intensive. You can still see your regular therapist, but we're going
yeah.
to focus specifically on this thing. You guys keep working on your family communication crap or whatever that you're
Yes,
dealing with.
yes.
Let's go back to your trauma. There's so many different ways it can look. You said that a moment ago because I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh, okay, so it's like these chunks of time." But then I heard you also say it could fall under the umbrella of actually just switching to being someone who does an hour and a half session or whatever with clients, even like just doing longer therapy
Yes.
in general falls under that umbrella. Um, so it
Yeah.
could, right?
Mhm.
If someone
Yeah.
decided, but even when you do that, you kind of recommend, if possible, let me know what you think. If you're doing like an hour to 2 hours with a client, that's then probably going to be switching to every other week. You don't necessarily do that weekly, but you could if it was a short period of time or.
I think it depends on what the goal is,
Mm-hmm,
So if it is, some people really want to speed up the process. So you
mm-hmm,
could do 2 hours every single week for fewer weeks,
mm-hmm,
or you could do 2 hours every other week. And that
mm-hmm.
way you're still getting, in that scenario, you're still getting the total like dosage or like number of hours,
Yeah.
but it's just every other week instead of
Yes.
weekly. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like we
Yeah.
could have a little diagram of that, but
I know. Maybe I'll put it on the Instagram or whatever when the episode goes live so that people can kind
yeah,
of have a visual of it. But it's like, no matter what, it's whatever is longer than like a 50, 60-minute session than typical, right?
yeah,
And likely in a shorter window of time. So here's just a simple example of using an intensive kind of method that I did recently with a client who I'd been seeing for a while, and they were really having a hard time sharing about a specific presenting issue that they had. But it was becoming more and more clear that it needed to come up.
yeah,
And the idea of spreading it out over like weeks of trying to like get into it didn't sound appealing to them. So it was like,
yes,
all right, how about we schedule like 2 sessions next week and we'll start it this week and then we know we have 2 more next week. So it was like it was kind of like we did like a little bit of intensive like increase and then we went back to normal so that we could kind of like lean into it and get like the full picture again in a way that felt more comfortable to them, and then we went back to like our usual routine. But that
yeah,
was almost like more data gathering to help with the big picture, but it was very clear that we needed to kind of dive deeper more quickly, but I had the flexibility to do that within my schedule with them.
mhm. Which is so kind,
Oh,
to like
this guy.
let people sit like, because if it's already a difficult topic, you don't want to
Mhm.
stop midway and feel
Yeah.
interrupted, and then it's like trying to get back into that mindset and talk about it. I feel like that is why I think a lot of couples intensives are very popular.
Oh, I bet.
Is it takes more time to work with
Mhm.
2 people, and then if there's a
Mhm.
very sensitive conflict or topic,
Yeah.
you wanna really be able to have the full discussion, and
Yeah.
usually people have to go through a cycle where you're, like, warming up,
Yeah.
having the height of the conversation,
Mhm.
whatever, like, repair, recovery, connection, and then sort of, like,
Yep.
ramp down.
Planning for next time or whatever.
And that
Yeah.
just, like, can't happen in 50 minutes.
Mhm.
Shout out to all the couples therapists out there who, like,
You do, yeah.
been doing it for a long time in
Yeah.
that, like, format, but especially if there's something going on that's, like, a really difficult topic or something like you said, you kind of been, like, avoiding it, but you know that, "Okay, we're gonna need to
Yep.
talk about this," or
Mm.
whatever, then it really makes a difference to have a big block of time where you feel safe enough that it's not gonna get cut off or glossed over. And then everybody kind of shows up ready, right? Like, as the therapist, I'm like, all right, we're doing this. This is the time. I'm on my A game, ready.
Mhm.
I'm ready
Mhm.
for whatever is going on. Like, bring it to me. And
Yeah.
then clients are kind of like, okay, here I
Yeah.
am. I'm at a point where I really want to discuss this honestly to get to the heart.
Honestly, like this big heavy thing that I keep not going fully into,
Yeah.
whatever. Or just
Yeah.
let's go back to the example of you're going to see a therapist, but you have so much family stuff going on that you don't even have time to come back to the trauma.
Yeah.
Um, so let's just assume that that person had been to multiple therapists of like, oh, I'm not really getting to the traumas, but then I have to like go start over with a whole new person. Like, I think especially with trauma, having to tell your story over and over again, like
Mhm.
the amount of times that I think some people don't even want to change therapists, even if it's not even the best fit for them, because they have to tell their story again or they have to start over. I think is understated. You know, I think it's really out there of like, man, even if this isn't the best person, it has to be kind of sometimes a really uncomfortable or unpleasant situation. So like that doesn't mean that that therapy wasn't useful. It's just that it wasn't getting everything that you may have needed out of therapy.
Right, like, maybe it wasn't hitting that
Mhm.
targeted place that you were hoping to go.
Yeah. And so let's like list out what different intensives can look like. So you have done some that are like half day. I mean, technically 1 3 hour session could be an intensive,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah,
technically counts. Like what I just did kind of with my client that I just mentioned technically counts of like having grouped sessions, longer sessions spread
yeah,
out a little bit more technically counts. But the ones that I feel like we see a lot of, and like what you do are kind of like multiple days, right? Like back to back and going like really deeply, especially with like structured type stuff. Can you walk us
yeah.
through some of those options?
Yes, yes, I have found those to be so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and mostly because not one of us, unless you're really lucky, you probably have been through more than one painful thing in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, humans are complex. So,
Yeah.
having, like, 3 days where the mornings are completely reserved for, like, therapy, and then the afternoons are, like, your time to care for yourself, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be in nature, go
Mm-hmm.
to the spa, take a nap, like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when
Mm-hmm.
people come to do an intensive, it could be a full day, especially if there's, like, more than one person, so a couple or, like,
Mm-hmm.
a family. If there's
Yeah.
conflict in your extended family that's starting to come to a head, that's another popular multi-day intensive.
Mhm.
There's even some that are more, like, retreat focused. I mean, I think of, like, couples a lot when I think of that, but, like,
Yeah, it's hard not to.
yeah, going away to, like, a beautiful destination, and some
Mm-hmm.
of that time is used to strengthen the relationship and,
Mm-hmm.
work through conflicts or patterns that are impacting you.
Yeah. And while
Um,
you say that, like going to an exotic destination or some special destination, like it can still be kind of retreaty. Like it's hard to almost not see it as kind of a retreat when you see it some of the ways, because the way you describe it, like sometimes you'll have the way you've said it, some people travel to come see you to do it in person
yeah,
and then they're out of town or they might be in town, but even then it's just like, well, let me retreat to do this work, so I'll get a hotel room or an Airbnb or whatever.
exactly.
Or like when I know you said you had some that you do virtual, right? And they'll just go to a hotel and do it so that they still
Yes.
feel like they're getting a retreat. It doesn't have to be that way, but I
Yeah.
think that is one of the fun elements and kind of hospitality spins on some of it that I really, really like, because I know you've talked about people who create little gift baskets and like there's a lot more of a hospitality pampering element to it that can be incorporated. Not necessarily, that's not everybody's thing as a
Right.
provider, right? Or
Right.
even as a client, like don't give me the smelly stuff, like I don't need a candle, you know what I mean? What if there's someone who doesn't want candles? That's fine. Or like essential oils or whatever. But some people, like if you are going into this really vulnerable place, it might actually feel a lot more like retreaty and spa like, depending on how you want to do it and what your fit is with the person,
Mhm.
than say like therapy itself. You know, I think there are a lot of
Oh,
people who are really good at weekly therapy and creating a space that feels very warm and cozy and kind of spa like, but it still is, it's an office, it's a professional space. Like, you know, you're not coming in your robe. Some people might be, especially if you're virtual and whatnot.
Yeah.
Am I touching on the stuff? Like how it
Yeah,
can
for
look.
sure, for sure. That you're showing up and doing something that's really powerful and vulnerable, and so as therapists, we wanna honor that and make sure that you feel really cared for in all different kinds of ways, not just
Hmm.
the normal ways of,
Yeah.
do you know how to log on to your session or, like, where to park to get to the office,
Right.
whatever, but, like,
Yeah.
okay, what's the rest of your day gonna look like? Like, what helps you
Hmm.
feel really safe and cared for? Or if it's
Yeah.
a couples thing, like, what's an activity that you love doing together? What's
Mm.
something that makes you, like, laugh together? Uh,
Yeah.
so it really is, like, more of an immersive experience.
Hmm.
Most of the time, people are taking time off work, they don't have any other
Yeah,
responsibility.
you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, this is
Yeah.
not a good fit for someone who's, like you said, like the half day thing. Like, oh, I'll just take the mornings off or whatever. Like,
Right.
the amount of deep work that you're doing it would just not be ethically like okay to be able to say, yeah, sure, you can go to work after.
Right. No, no. It's like, I mean, you could, but like the
But I
truth
don't know if
is,
it would be wise.
like you want to take care of yourself,
Hmm.
and allow yourself to rest if you need or whatever
Yeah.
helps. So a lot
Hmm.
of the setting the stage is like therapists helping clients decide what do I want my intensive experience to look like? Like if
Hmm.
I feel like I'm ready, I want to like I'm saying yes to this piece of work that feels important to me right now, then
Hmm.
let's set the stage so that you can have all the things that you need to help you like really have a powerful and beautiful experience.
Hmm. Which you, as the therapist, may or may not provide, right? Like, I know
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
for instance, like you said, someone might choose to then go get a massage afterward, that they
Yeah.
could book. But you could also be in a space, like some therapists might be in the same space as a spa and they have like a contract and it could be included as part of the intensive. Everybody's like provision of that could look different. So some of that might be like, how are we helping you feel like the whole experience is nurturing and healing? And then other people are going to be like, here's what we provide, and you can kind of tailor it to what you would like it to be.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just because I feel like this would be important to highlight, like, I know this, but if I had first started learning about intensives, I did not know this until I learned from you, which was you're not just like, "Hi, you're booked for these 3 days. I will see you then," right?
Right.
It's more intensive than that. There's
Yeah.
more of a process to get ready for the intensives.
So how I do it is that we have a workbook that guides people to get ready. Some of it is very practical, like here's where to go, what to wear, what to bring, set the stage of what to expect. But then
Mm,
there's also parts where it says like, how do you want life to look different after this? Like, how
mm,
will you know that the time was well spent or the money, like that you're happy that you invested in this?
mhm.
Um, it's possible that you could do this with a therapist that you know already, or it could be
Yeah.
someone who's highly specialized and not necessarily in your area
Mhm.
where you travel specifically for them. So
Yeah.
the workbook is an opportunity for you to share the important pieces of your story and your background so that that therapist is familiar with
Mhm.
you before you ever see them face to face.
Mm,
And so that's a really big part of it because it sets the stage for how deep you can go. And then usually there's a pre-intensive interview where you're
mhm.
touching base and talking about all those things. So again, you
Is
get to
that before the
share.
workbook gets done or after?
I like to do it after because
Af
I like to read through it and really
That's
absorb
helpful.
and digest
Mhm.
whatever the client wants to share with me. And then I'll take that and go into the pre-intensive interview and we'll kind of review it together. So tell me again, what's the purpose of this for you? Like, what's moved you to do this? If there's anything that I'm like, oh, tell me a little bit more about that. Or,
Mhm.
I'm curious about that. And then we'll, based on the information and the goals of the intensive will map out what where we wanna spend the time,
Mhm.
kind of agree together, "Okay, here's what I'm envisioning. How does that feel to you?" And then go from there. And I
Mhm.
always tell people, "This is your time." And so if it happens a lot actually
Mm,
during the intensive, something new might come up or like a different
mm,
angle that you weren't expecting. And
mhm.
so just to say like I'm going to show up and be present however is needed. And if you feel within yourself, okay, I want to shut the door on this and open the door to this, like we can agree to shift if that feels like the direction that things need to go.
Mhm.
Not like, oh,
Mhm.
you're locked into one particular thing because sometimes we
Yeah.
don't. Once you spend a lot of time deep diving, you uncover things that you didn't have access to before. So
Mhm.
that might
Mhm.
change the roadmap a little
Yeah.
bit.
And again, that can happen in weekly therapy too. It's just that this is happening a little bit more like quickly in a shorter period of time. So
Yeah.
then that could change the direction of what you're doing and could indicate what is taken away from the experience as to whether or not you would like to do another one, or, oh, I learned this, I can take that back to my other therapist, or whatever.
Exactly.
Right? Very cool. Yeah. So we might find therapists who, like you, do only intensives. We have some that might do both. Um, and, obviously therapists that just do individual therapy, like the standard kind of weekly therapy. We mentioned EMDR. I would love to chat about what different types, and you also kind of mentioned couples. Like, they're not necessarily just EMDR ones, right?
No,
What can it look
no.
like? What can people do?
Honestly, I'm a huge advocate that any type of therapy can be delivered in intensive format. So,
Mm,
obviously, we said EMDR, a lot of different trauma modalities work in intensive
mm-hmm,
format. So, like brain spotting,
mm-hmm,
internal family systems, somatic experiencing, all that kind of
mm,
like flavor. You see a lot of couples intensives, and there's a ton of different modalities. So, like EFT or Gottman or like real life therapy. And then another one that's really popular is like anxiety, OCD, and phobias.
oh, yeah.
Right. So, like, I hear this a lot, and I've had this experience with clients in my own practice is that maybe there's a specific fear or
Mm-hmm.
anxiousness or even an OCD compulsion that is really, really present at a particular moment and someone wants to address it. So I had a client, I'll try to be pretty vague, but
Vague, right? Yeah.
yeah, they played sports
Mm-hmm.
and they were going to have to fly for like big tournament.
Tournament, yeah.
And they had a very serious fear of flying.
Oof.
And they knew it was gonna come up at a certain period of time, and so they wanted to make sure that they would be able to do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
be able to attend. And so things like that, where there's a fear that maybe it's been there for a while, but something's happening where you feel like, "Okay, no, now I really want to overcome this or resolve this."
Like, I have a very clear reason why I need to address this as soon as possible.
Yes.
And just
Yes.
going to therapy is not necessarily like
Right.
it you could do it, especially if you have a few months to work with,
Right.
but you may not have that
Yeah, and of course,
luxury.
even with intensives, like, there's no
Yeah.
guarantees. People are very complex. It's not like we could say, "Okay, yes, if you come in for 3 days, you will no longer ever feel afraid of flying."
Yes.
Like, that's
Yeah.
not.
So, like, little asterisk on the example that you gave at the beginning where there was the severe symptoms and then that decreased, like,
Yeah.
that's an awesome example, but not everybody's gonna have that. Right.
No, no, there's
It's not a
so many
guarantee. Results
factors.
not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Those little things that you see on those, like, commercials. Results may vary.
Right, exactly, exactly. Because it's like we're humans, so you just never know. It's the
Mhm.
same thing with, like, taking medicine. Some people
Yeah.
may take something and feel amazing, and someone might take it and feel horrible. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
we honestly don't know.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, what was I saying? Anxiety, OCD, fear phobias. I see that in intensives a
So are they
lot.
doing, like, exposure in some of those?
In some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's exposure therapy. There's lots of different types of therapy that could address that, but
Yeah.
that's pretty popular too. And I see a lot for also like perinatal folks.
Mm.
So, like, if they are new parents and having difficulty adjusting, because that is
Yeah.
a beast, or
Yep.
they're with like a birth trauma, or it's
Mhm.
impacting their
Yeah.
relationship, whatever, like that's a pretty big one. And that makes sense too, right? Because when you're a new parent, you like trying to put a weekly appointment in your calendar is a pretty big.
Really hard, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
if you could get grandma to come over for, like, a weekend or for a Saturday
Mhm.
thing, or
Yeah.
your partner's home from work on the weekend and you can go do it, it, like, makes it a lot more possible or feel a little
Yeah.
more
And
within.
it feels sometimes it's easier to ask for that, like, "Can we just have, like, a day or a weekend or whatever," than, like, "Can I have you come over at this time every single week?"
Oh, yeah, and some people travel a lot for work or
Mhm.
they work shifts that change, and
Yeah.
so, yes, can you still do weekly therapy? Like, theoretically, yes, but
Mhm.
it may just be a lot harder, and
Mhm.
doing therapy at all can be a hard ask, so for some people, that's, like, the difference between doing it or not. I also see a lot of people doing it during a summer break or like a sabbatical. So teachers, their schedules are
Yeah.
super full and super hectic during the school year. But then they have this whole summer break where maybe you are more calm and actually can
Hmm.
like focus on you. And so there's some seasonal aspects to it as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, as it should be, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, yeah, if one way of doing things isn't gonna work, I talk about this all the time,
I
then,
know.
like, I really believe people should have the right to access therapy in the way that makes sense for them. Even
Yeah.
culturally, there's types of communication where getting to a really sensitive topic in 50 minutes is not
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or like neurodivergent folks,
Hmm.
like I see a
Hmm.
ton of folks who are like autistic, have ADHD, whatever, and really prefer an intensive format because
Hmm.
they don't have to like watch the clock and feel like nervous that they're
Yeah.
talking too much or,
Hmm. Hmm.
they're not going to get to
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. I just realized after the fact that I think we didn't touch on how you do a debrief as well,
Yeah.
right? So you
Oh,
do
yeah.
like the
Yeah.
pre-interview and then you do the intensive and then you do a debrief, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so I just wanted to make sure I closed that circle because I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And so that's where you can sometimes talk about like, what next step did you get what you wanted? What are your next steps that you would like to take?
Exactly.
Like, where would you like to take this on to your next stage or whatever step day to day like to do?
Yeah, yeah, and usually it's like 2 to 4 weeks after because the thing I hear so much is people are like, "I feel so good. I feel so much better. I feel like a different person." And then they're like, "But I won't feel like this in tomorrow or the next
Right.
day or the next day." And
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a
I'm
hard sell.
like, "Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. Let's just
Hmm.
wait and see." 2 weeks kinda gives you a chance to get back to your life, sort of, you
Hmm.
know, be in the routine of things, and
Hmm.
then you really can tell, was that just like a mountaintop high experience, or
Yeah.
did something, like, deep really shift for you?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've seen both happen, so it's not like there's no guarantee.
Yeah, you're not like, "Well, I know it's always gonna be this. I'll see you
Right.
in 2 weeks," or whatever. Yeah, you've
Right,
seen it be
right.
both. Yeah.
Yeah, like, just, like, genuinely honest. Same thing with, like, how we talked about medicine. Some
Mhm.
people, like, it resolves symptoms really quick. Some people, it takes some creativity and
Yeah.
an approach. So
Do you find that most people were glad that they did it? It's not
oh,
like a,
yeah.
"Oh, I wish I didn't," or, like, was a waste or anything?
No, I mean, there have been times where we got into something and it was like, "Oh, there is way more involved in this than what we realized," and so
Mhm.
we're kinda like, "Okay." But even that is, like, important information.
Yeah, you're still
Like,
getting
we might
something out
not
of
have
it.
gotten to as quickly, so then it's
Mhm.
kinda like, "Okay, what in light of this, how do we wanna proceed?"
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think the majority of people are just like, "That was amazing.
Mhm.
I f all the time, I feel like I'm a different person."
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even know how many weeks of therapy it would have taken for
Yeah.
us to get to
I
this
talked to
place.
somebody who said that they had done an intensive, like, it was, like, kinda like a weekend EMDR one, I believe, and she said, "I feel different in my body." Like, it was hard to sorta describe, but I just feel different in my body. Yeah,
Oh. Yeah, like,
that was
more
interesting.
light, more at
I think
peace.
so, yeah, like, settled in.
Right.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it was very interesting. I think I have one more question, and then we can transition to the wrap-up questions. Does that sound good? Like we sort of said, there's EMDR, there's other types. So it can be kinda like talk therapy, it can be activities that you would do, like you said, somatic type stuff. Like, some of it can be structured, some of it can be not. Part of that is finding the right person for you maybe and what type of intensive they might provide, or going back to that workbook of like, what would you like it to look like? Do you want it to be super structured or do you just want to be able to sit here and talk for the whole time and just get something out? Is that right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think I would make sure, like, if I was a client looking for an intensive, I would make sure that the person can help me with, like, getting from where I am to where I wanna
Mhm.
go. So if that's,
Mhm.
like, an anxiety journey or
Yeah.
couples or trauma or whatever, like, if I'm not always as concerned about how they're gonna get me there. Maybe that's just me
Mm-hmm.
personally, because 'cause I'm pretty
Yeah.
open, but I
Yeah.
just wanna know, like, is this something
Preach.
you have experience with? Like,
Yeah.
can you guide me, basically? But if
Yes.
you are someone who's like, "Oh, I know I don't like certain things, or I really do
Mm-hmm.
like certain things," then that's an option too. Like, some
Yeah.
people bring in a lot of cool stuff. They'll bring in, like, art therapy, we talked about, like, nature, some people bring in,
Mm-hmm.
like, sound and music. So,
Yeah.
it can get really, like, niche and
Yeah.
specific.
Yeah. I think I
Bring it
have like 2 or 3 more questions. I was wrong.
up.
'Cause they
Yeah.
said we're gonna come back to the money thing for one, as you were talking about that, but then
Oh,
as
yeah.
you were talking about it, I was like, "Oh, so maybe we should talk about how someone would wanna find an intensive." That would make sense. So
Yeah.
how you offer them, but, like, how oh, but before we even do that, I really wanted to, like, list out some of the really cool type stuff that's out there. So you said, like,
Yeah.
EMDR, you said, like, anxiety stuff, but I know for a fact there's someone out there, I think you might know him, that does, like, EMDR fly fishing. Like,
Yes.
there's some, like,
Yes.
really cool stuff. What's his name?
Tony Parmenter.
Johnny Parmenter. I feel like it would just be
Yeah.
wrong if I didn't actually, like, say his name.
Yeah.
I tried to get my husband an intensive to do that with him because I was like,
Yeah.
"He loves fishing," and it hasn't worked out, but just shout out to that kind of stuff. There's super cool stuff out there.
Yeah.
EMDR, like, just virtually it can be as simple bare bones as that or just chatting for a really long time or just going to your own therapist, but it could also be, "Let's go out into nature together and have this conversation. Let's do fly fishing." What are some other things that you've seen? Or at
Yeah.
a spa, we talked about that, but, like, yeah, go ahead.
I've seen some rock climbing ones. I've seen
Mm.
people who do it, like, literally on the beach, like, in a really private area. Like we said, retreats.
Mhm. Group ones, there's
There
group
are
ones,
groups.
like,
Yeah.
intensive that are kinda, like, more retreaty, but yeah,
Right.
I met with somebody who I think was in our group, and I will try and get her name if I won't be able to remember it off the top of my head, but I, like, actually chatted with her when I was doing the training with you. And she does grief ones, which I love that was one of the things that I'm hoping to wanna do, but she actually does them in group formats.
Yeah.
And so I chatted with her, and it was super cool, so I'll have to get her information. Yeah, and put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so great. So I don't know if this is the same person, but Joanna Barrett just did a like widows and wellness retreat. And it
Oh.
was specifically, it was a group of women and
Mhm.
there were all different types of activities for them
Yeah.
to move through. They're like processing their grief in different places on their grief journey.
Mhm.
And some of
Mhm.
that is just like it's really powerful to be with other people,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're like going through something. And there's another person, Rebecca, who does intensives for folks who've experienced child loss. So,
Mm.
like think of things that are, gosh, yeah, those are moments in
Yeah.
life where you want support.
And
Like
that
the whole
intensive might
time.
sound a little more appealing or a group might sound appealing or
Yes.
not, but, like, if you're experiencing, like, child loss or something, like you were describing, like, the idea of, like, "Oh, I have to sign up for therapy. I just would like to feel better sooner." You know what I mean? Or, like, trying to find time and all of that. Like, "Okay, what if I just signed up for this one retreat?" Like, that might feel more doable. Everybody's
Yeah,
different, but it could feel more doable.
exactly. Exactly. You feel like my world has stopped. How can I
Mhm.
continue to go day by day. And so
Yeah.
having that immersive experience when you already feel like how
Mhm.
consuming it is
Yes.
like that's exactly what you need in that moment. Like 1 hour of therapy doesn't feel like it scratches the surface when your whole world has been changed.
Turned upside down in that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. So let's talk about how we might find them, and then we'll talk about money. Money, money,
Yeah,
money.
right. So, how you can find them is more and more people are listing intensives on their website. So, you could simply put therapy intensive in your location or your state,
Mhm.
or if you have a specific topic you want to do, like EMDR intensive or whatever. Like, I work
Yeah.
with a lot of neurodivergent adults or religious trauma.
Neurodivergent adults, right? Like, yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or
And if there's not someone in your specific area and you're open to, like, traveling, there's some really amazing, talented therapists
yeah.
who, like, really, really deeply understand
Mm,
different experiences, and we've named a
yeah.
few of them on the podcast.
Yeah. Or we could even do virtual ones.
Yeah,
They don't you could travel or they might do it virtually.
it's not like it's any less. Like, you still
Mm.
get a really powerful experience doing it
Yeah.
virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So some people kind of try and use insurance, correct? To cover,
Mhm.
like still
Mhm.
provide some of this, and then some people don't. Can you kind of walk through like the decisions for that? Or
Yeah. So the thing is, like, insurance is not set up for intensives, right? Think of
no.
like industrial revolution, lots of uniform segments. So, like, insurance is for hourly therapy.
Yeah.
That's probably what you would see on your plan.
Hmm.
And sadly, unfortunately, it hasn't adapted to like fund this type of work. So it really is an elective. It really is something that, like, if you were gonna do this, you would be paying out of pocket, and in some cases, depending on your out-of-network benefits,
Hmm.
you could be eligible for some reimbursement, um, but it definitely would not cover the full cost. So some people will get, like, a super bill or, like, a receipt for what they've paid and then submit it to their insurance to get a check in
Yeah.
the mail.
Better than nothing. Something.
Well, I
Yeah.
have some clients who are like, "Listen, that is a headache, and I do not want to do it." And
I
I'm like,
mean,
"Fair,
that's
totally
me.
fair."
That
And then
like
there's other people that's like, "Well, even if I could get, like, however much,
50,
like."
25. I don't know.
Exactly, like a small amount of money,
Yeah.
um, I'm like, every little bit helps. So it
Right.
just depends, but I always tell people before you make the decision to do the intensive. And if you want insurance to be a part of it, just be mindful. It's always a good idea to call the insurance company and understand what your plan covers. Because if the financial part is a very large factor, I feel
Yeah.
like it's good to make the informed decision. If
Yeah.
you're kind of like, nope, it's in the budget, or I have
Mhm.
family support, or
Put it
there's
on a
an
credit card or however, like, just whatever
yeah,
you feel
yeah.
like however you view it as your investment or what support that you have.
Right, right. There's even some programs, that help. I'll say this is like the name of the programs, like victim assistance funds. So, like,
Oh.
if you've had a trauma that was like related to a crime, a lot of times there's funds to pay for therapy, and
Mm,
that can also go towards an intensive experience.
mm,
So
mm,
that's not everybody's situation, but
right.
it helps in some cases.
Let's talk about the different like we were saying, if you break it down financially, depending on how much it costs, is it still cheaper than
Right. I mean, you can get out your spreadsheets and your
yes.
calculators and like map it out, but of course, there's no guarantees. Humans
Mhm.
are not
Mhm.
robots, so it's not like, 3
Yeah.
sessions and you're done. But when you look at the cost of your time
Mhm.
and your money going to weekly sessions, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, right? If you can have an intensive experience where you're going for 3 days and
Mhm.
getting a similar outcome,
Yeah.
the potential savings is there for sure. For some
Yeah.
people, that's all they need to know. My
Mm.
time is more of a premium even than my finances.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, there's ways you could calculate it. It definitely can save you time and money. The other thing to be aware of is that they tend to be charged at more of a premium rate,
Yeah.
kind of like fast pass at Disney. You're not like
Oh, okay.
you're not waiting the full
Yeah.
line, you're kind of, like, jumping ahead and seeing
Mhm.
results quicker, or when you go to the post office and you're like, "I wanna do overnight delivery," like, anytime
Mhm.
you're expediting a
Mhm.
service,
Yeah.
there's gonna be a price for that, but
Mhm.
when I th and again, that's gonna be, like, appealing to some people, maybe that's not appealing to everyone,
Yeah.
but when I think about the client who wasn't experiencing PTSD symptoms after 3 days,
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, "Oh my gosh," like, yes, she probably saved
Mhm.
money not going to therapy for months, but she
Yeah.
also wasn't in pain after 3
Mhm.
days, you know?
Yeah.
So it really comes down to what you value, what you wanna prioritize, what you feel like
Yeah.
is the best fit for you.
Yeah, and there's different ways that I guess you could use it to address the specific thing, or maybe this is an intensive could be a way for me to explore what I would want to use therapy for, or to like kind of check in on what direction my therapy needs to go now, because we are sort of at this stuck point. But I
Yeah.
guess it sort of depends on your own intentionality. It could be, well, I don't have time for therapy, so I'm just going to do this instead.
Right.
Um, there's tons of different approaches that you could do, or just like, I deserve like a healing retreat, then sure, and if you have the
Yes.
funds to do it, if you got a gift, or even if it's like, whatever. But it does tend to be expensive, so there might be some sticker shock, but that would also allow you to potentially tailor if I'm just going to do like a 1-day intensive versus like whatever. Or does
Yeah.
that mean I just talk with my own therapist who I'm already doing private pay with, or about could we do longer sessions but spread them out more, or
Yeah.
just feel like we're not getting as much done as I feel like we're always getting so close, or like we're digging back into it. If you as a client are thinking that, then looking into options of what it could look like would be to your advantage. You're
For
welcome to do
sure.
that. Yeah.
For sure. Or if you feel like at the end of every session, you're always like I could just say that,
Yeah.
like, if it's feeling like it's
Yeah.
being cut short, like, that's a pretty good indication that, an intensive might be a better fit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also some freedom to be said for, like, what we were just talking about that made me think of, like, the doorknob confessions. Get through a
Yes.
whole thing, and then, like, something really big comes out, like, right at the end, and I think therapists would love, for one, to have just a little more time, but also then oftentimes we're just like, "And we're starting with that next time," which is a thing, and again, individual therapy is effective. Like, we're not saying, like, one or the other, but if you were like, "There's this thing that I'm having a hard time bringing up," it could be that, like, "Oh, I've really been struggling with my eating for a really long time, but I don't necessarily, that's not my therapist expertise. Maybe I just go do an intensive on it." But you're coming in with the intention of like, this is what I'm doing. And you could put it in the workbook and not have to try and wait for the moment to bring it up this 1 week or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very cool. Well, I'm so grateful for your time today. This has been so fun. Are you up for wrap up questions?
Sure. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So, where are you licensed?
Missouri and Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool. And do you currently have openings?
Sadly, I do not.
You do not. Busy, busy. And how would you describe your theoretical orientation?
I'll say I primarily do EMDR,
Mhm,
parts work, and
mhm.
I'm all about dropping into the body. I'm sure we could talk about this forever, but
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like my body knows more than I even realized, especially
Mhm.
for my own healing.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm a huge proponent of that.
Yeah.
What do they
Yes,
say?
I
Like
love it.
bottom up, like body focus.
Oh, yes. Totally. I love that. And what would your current fee be for like an intensive?
Yeah, so my 3-day EMDR intensive is $5,050.
And you do them both online and in person?
Yep.
Okay. What do you like to nerd out about? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, what do I not like to nerd out about?
I
Okay,
know, I know.
I'm very obsessed right now with political dramas. So, like,
Mm.
The West Wing, but the
Fun.
show that I love so much is The Diplomat with Carrie Russell. I don't know if you
Oh,
watched that, but
cool. No, I don't know that
it's like
one.
mystery, well, The Diplomat, political, thriller,
Yeah.
like
Oh, fun.
apparently
I know. Gonna
right,
happen.
right.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love that kind of stuff. I'm just not in that realm right now.
Yeah.
And do you have any pets?
So I
Yeah.
have a 1-year-old mini poodle, and her name is Cookie Master.
Oh my god. Who named Cookie Master?
My son, I
Yeah.
think he meant to say Cookie Monster, but we loved it so much, we were like, "Nope, it's"
No.
yeah.
Cookie Master. I love it so much. What's something that you find comforting?
I like to cuddle up on the couch with a lot of really cozy blankets. That is my calm place.
Yeah, just like burrow in deep, just all
Mhm.
snuggle. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you do coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Mm. And what would you say is your least favorite misconception about the work that we do?
Ooh. I think I'm gonna say in relation to what we talked about, like, you don't have to be in therapy forever if you don't want to.
Mm. Mm. Where can people find you?
You can find me at intensivedesignlab.com. And my practice is Kaleidoscope Counseling STL for St. Louis.
I've always liked the name of Kaleidoscope Counseling. Can I ask what inspired that name?
Yes! Oh my gosh. In true me fashion, I was
Right.
trying to think forever and ever about a
Mhm.
practice name. And finally, one day, in the shower is when I have my
Yeah.
best thoughts.
Right.
And I was just like, I love that, like, especially because I work with trauma, like, we've all experienced things that have, like, shattered us a little bit or broken
Mm.
the
Yeah, the
kintsugi
parts
dish.
and the pieces.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when you turn the
Yeah.
kaleidoscope, you see these, like, bright fragments turn into something really beautiful and something that we can be in awe of. I think those things make us who we are. Are they painful as hell and you would never want them to happen? Yes, but also they're the mosaic that makes us us. So,
Yes. Yeah.
uh,
I love that so much. I had wondered if that's what it was, especially knowing that you like parts work, but I was like, yeah, I have a feeling it's that like our pieces like make something beautiful, that it shifts and changes depending on how you like move it and stuff. Like I
yes,
love a good metaphor.
all the way.
Oh, okay. So kaleidoscope counseling. Yeah. That was everything, right? IntensiveDesignLab.com and kaleidoscope counseling STL. So
Yeah,
yeah. Steffeny Feld, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure.
thank you. That's so fun. I love it.
I love it too. Oh my gosh. I'm like so ADHD.
Yes.
But like I was like at some point I would love to talk to you about like your color matching thing that you just posted about the other day.
Yes! This
Was it
was one
so
of the
fun?
colors.
I actually thought that. That's what made me think of it. I was like, oh, she's wearing a nice color.
Yes! I went to Target and I was, "Let me find all my
Let
T-shirts and
me
all my colors."
find shopping easier.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I some of it, like, I kinda already knew, but there were, like, ones that were surprises, and I was kinda like, "Huh, that's not something I would go towards." Like, this is not a color I would normally wear.
Oh, really?
Like, "Oh, I like it." So and
Yeah.
it did makeup too, and, like, hair color and, like, nail polish. And it wasn't like, "Oh, let me sell you a bunch of stuff." It was just
Yeah.
like, "Here's what is gonna work
Yeah.
for you." And I was like, "That's awesome."
That's really nice. I think what I would wonder about then is just like, oh, but like with seasonal changes, like, like does stuff
Right.
shift? Like, how was it? Like, did you like it, the whole experience, or like, did you were you able to ask questions or
Oh, yeah. She
yeah,
was like I had a vibe from the website that she would be really chill and not that
uh,
intimidating, Not like
yeah,
talking to some I don't know, like someone who's the type of people that are like, "Pick your clothes?"
like the stylists or like
Yes,
the old school what not to wear kind of style
yeah, like,
stuff.
very intense, but this person was, like, very chill. So, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I'm like, "You should everybody should do it." Now I'm like, "Oh, I wanna, like, get new
I
clothes."
know. Was it expensive?
I mean, I think it was pretty reasonable. It was, like,
Yeah.
300 or 350, and it was, like, 2 hours.
Okay.
And then
Oh
I
wow.
got
Two.
this book afterward, and I got
Oh,
pictures and then these swatches that I can keep in my purse. So when I go to the store, I can pull it out and match it to different colors.
wow.
And she, like, did makeup on me. So I was like, I feel like that's pretty good for a 2-hour experience.
Yeah, yeah. As the intensive person, like, I feel like I'd be like,
Exactly.
"Yes," you're like,
And I was
I'll pay
like,
$300 for that, like,
yeah,
2 hours." Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
business owner, so I need pictures at
Mhm.
some point, make sure that I'm wearing what's gonna, like,
Yes. I
you
know,
know
yeah, I know, absolutely. Yep, and like you said, now I'm gonna buy more clothes.
I
So,
know.
thank you, I just thought of it because I had seen it recently where someone was recommending, like, "Hey, that's actually a super easy way to streamline your closet instead
Yeah,
of feeling like it's just like if you then you're not feeling as overwhelmed with options because like, a
yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more." Yeah,
Like, if
yeah,
everything's in that wheel or whatever, really anything can go with each other.
together. Yeah,
You could really have, like, a pretty minimal wardrobe.
yeah, super cool.
Well, she's
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, black is not your color," and I'm like, "Oh, I wear black all the time," and she's
All the
like,
time, yeah.
"This coffee brown is, like, much softer on you, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh,
Okay.
okay." And I thought because 'cause I'm so fair and there's, like, blue
Yeah,
undertones that would mean
yeah,
I'm cold or something. She's like,
yeah.
"Actually, like, that's not how it works."
Yeah, that kinda it's interesting stuff, but it's also so overwhelming.
Oh,
Like,
I
yeah, I would
know.
probably need someone else to just do it. Yeah, and also, like, that swatch thing makes it sound so helpful then.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Mhm.
"This is great."
Love that. Love that for you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing
Yeah,
that.
same here.